today's episode, I will cover the topic of stress, anxiety, and PTSD, which is becoming increasingly common among most people living on this earth. People with post-traumatic stress disorder often struggle with frequent and intense symptoms of anxiety. These strong symptoms of anxiety often lead people with PTSD to rely on unhealthy ways of coping, such as through drugs or alcohol use. Now, fortunately, there are numbers of healthy ways of coping with anxiety that may help your anxiety go down in intensity, become less frequent, and or become more tolerable. People who have lived through a traumatic event, either it be childhood, loss of a loved one, or whatever else, they can find themselves experiencing emotional challenges long after the event has taken place. Now, although it is common for many to experience emotional challenges after a severe mental trauma, symptoms usually lessen in intensity over time and go through a healing process that others aren't able to acquire similar skills. Those suffering from PTSD find themselves experiencing symptoms that continue to cause them significant distress. About 70% of adults in this country have reported experiencing some traumatic event, but it is important to note that not all people who experience those events will develop PTSD. Some factors that can contribute to the likelihood of developing PTSD include things like mental or physical health condition, emotional response during the trauma, the type of trauma, gender. Studies have shown women to be twice as likely to have PTSD, age, marital status, emotional support system, experiencing additional stresses for after trauma. Now, let's discuss some time of PTSD. We have what we call dissociative, the late onset and complex dissociative refers to presence or persistent or recurrent depersonalization or derealization symptoms. Now, depersonalization means that someone is experiencing something as if they are observer to themselves, observing from outside of their body. Something closely related is DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, is a mental illness that involves disruption or breakdown of memory, identity, perception, and self-awareness. Derealization refers to sensing as if things around you are real, almost as if you are unfamiliar and disconnected from the world around you. The late onset is when someone who experienced trauma at any given time but only express symptoms 3 to 6 months into the future, which is most common with Army veterans. They tend to keep the symptoms in to avoid dealing with early discharge, but can't keep on hiding the symptoms long enough after their traumatic event. Complex PTSD mostly refers to traumatic events that are more recurring, such as domestic violence, sexual abuse, especially when living with someone toxic. By experiencing traumatic event on a regular basis, this can fall under complex PTSD, unless they can escape from that environment and seek assistance or help from expert. So what are healthy ways to cope with PTSD? First, deep breathing can be an important coping skill to learn. It may sound silly, but many people do not breathe properly. You have to relearn how to breathe and help protect yourself from stress. Practice this simple exercise to improve your breathing and combat anxiety. 2, using relaxation exercises can be an effective way to reduce your stress and anxiety. One relaxation exercise called progressive muscle relaxation focuses on the person alternating between tensing and relaxing different muscles group throughout the body. Using mindfulness for anxiety can be very helpful. Mindfulness has been around for ages. Mindfulness is about being in touch with and being aware of the present moment. So often in our lives, we are stuck in our heads, caught up in the anxiety and worries of daily lives. This exercise will introduce you to mindfulness and may be helpful getting you out of your head and in touch with the present moment. Also, self-monitoring can be a helpful way of getting a handle on your anxiety symptoms. We're all creatures of habit. We often go about our day without thinking, being aware of much that goes around us. This may be useful in some situation, but other times, this lack of awareness may make us feel as though our thoughts and emotions are completely unpredictable and unmanageable. Self-monitoring is a simple way of increasing this awareness. You can also find support from others, can be a major factor in helping people overcome the negative effect of a traumatic event or PTSD. Now, having someone you trust that you can talk to can be very helpful for working through stressful situations or for emotional validation. Also, coping strategies focus on improving your mood and reducing the anxiety that you can do on your own are sometimes described as self-soothing or self-care coping strategies. Also, journaling to cope with and express your thoughts and feelings, also called expressive writing, can be a good way of coping with anxiety. Expressive writing has been found to improve physical and psychological health. Purposeful use of distraction technique can actually be of benefit in coping with emotions that are strong and feel uncomfortable, such as anxiety and fear. Distraction is anything you do to temporarily take your attention off of strong emotion. Therefore, by temporarily distracting yourself, you may give the emotion some time to decrease in intensity, making it easier to manage. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hope this episode gave you a little more insight on understanding how the mind works, the reasons why some struggles with challenges while others manage these same challenges with ease and simplicity. Psychiatrists and psychologists have studied the mind for centuries, but still are working on why the mind processes information a certain way. Why do some humans are more prone to mental illnesses versus others? Or how some are more vulnerable to addiction where others can easily stop a bad habit from lingering in their life for too long. Humans are unique species who have the ability to heal themselves with proper tools and training. Now, we all deal with the many uncertainties of life, but some allow these uncertainties to drain them from their energy and keep them sick mentally and physically, which benefits the many pharmaceutical companies around the world. They want to keep you sick. Now, we all know that life is not easy, but it's really up to you to decide how you want to manage it. Now, you can't really control everything happening in your life, so for the things that are out of your control, it is important to determine how much of a lesson you want to learn from your experiences. Now, for all that to happen, you must learn how to identify triggers that puts you in a depressing state of mind and how to cope with these symptoms when they are polluting your consciousness. Now, we all can deal with some stress in our lives, but too much of it is unhealthy. Anxiety can lead to severe depression and suicide, so when left untreated, it may bring in a total wave of other problems that can become overwhelming and difficult to handle. Try avoiding falling in that trap and get the help from a professional who can assist you throughout this whole ordeal. Now, ignoring your issues won't solve the problem, just like trying to ignore the IRS letters for a probable audit. Now, every problem in life already has a solution glued to it. You just need to figure out how to find it. Now, hope this episode was helpful, and stay tuned for our future episode coming up soon. Now, if you happen to have any further questions or require assistance or therapy, do not hesitate to contact me at the number below so we can address your problem together and find a solution that is already there. Until then, my friend, stay healthy, stay wise, and stay happy. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and I'm your virtual coach.